Straight.
We've got Rubbing Elbows with Tommy John, and our guest is the handsome and athletic Johnny Bench. Hey, you grew up whereabouts in Oklahoma?
I grew up in a small town of 661 people, Binger, just like finger with a B, Binger, Oklahoma.
Now, wasn't that close to where Mantle grew up?
No. It was actually, we were southwest Oklahoma City. He was almost all the way up to the Missouri border. He was the Commerce Comet. Yeah. The Commerce Comet, and he was born in Swalvino. You asked me about Mantle. I'll tell you.
Mickey Mantle was the greatest switch hitter the game's ever seen. He was a powerful hitter. He could hit for average, and he was impossible to pitch to because you couldn't bring anybody in, lefty or righty, because he was equally powerful from both sides of the plate.
Mickey Mantle was born on October 20th, 1931, in Spavinaw, Oklahoma. Trained by his father at a young age to bat from both sides of the plate, Mickey became a deadly hitter in high school.
When Mickey was growing up, his dad after work would take him out to the field, and his dad would pitch right-handed when Mickey hit left-handed. And then they'd bring in his grandfather, who would pitch left-handed, and Mickey would bat right-handed. So he got to see the left-hander and the right-hander, turned into a pretty good switch hitter.
My dad, he always wanted me to be a switch hitter. He would work in the mines all day, and then he'd come home at night and take tennis balls and stand me out by the garage and pitch to me till dark.
Mantle was signed to a minor league contract with the New York Yankees, and by 1951 he was playing in the big leagues. The following year, he was called upon to replace the legendary Joe DiMaggio in center field.
Mickey Mantle had some of the most enormous shoes anybody's ever had to fill, and Mickey Mantle had to endure boos for years before he was accepted because, for no other reason, he wasn't Joe DiMaggio.
Joe was as kind as he could be. If I would go up to Joe DiMaggio and say, Joe, what did I do wrong on that play? He'd say, sit down, son. And then he would tell me exactly what I did wrong.
Over the next 18 years, the Mick, as he was called, became one of the biggest stars and the highest paid player in baseball.
Every time Mantle stepped to the bat, the pitcher and everybody on the opposing team was afraid that a home run was coming.
Despite numerous injuries, Mantle dominated the major leagues. He hit 536 home runs, winning baseball's Triple Crown and 3 MVP awards, and led the Yankees to 7 World Series championships.
I would argue that Mickey Mantle was the greatest power switch hitter ever, hitting home runs from the right and the left, and obviously powerful, and that's where he made his name. You know, the phrase tape measure home run, that was created by Mickey Mantle.
Off the field, Mantle lived as large as he played, and was notorious for his hard drinking and womanizing lifestyle.
Well, clearly Mickey was a 1950s drinker, womanizer, wasn't a good father, you know, cheated on his wife. I think that's what guys did in the 50s.
I think that's one of the things about Mickey Mantle in his times, that he was allowed to be a baseball player. The press didn't delve into his life the way it does today. I think Mickey Mantle would have a harder time getting away with what he got away with if he was playing today.
A 20-time All-Star, Mantle retired from baseball in 1969. And in the same year, the Yankees retired his jersey number 7. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame 5 years later.
They had retired number 3, 4, and 5, Ruth Gehrig DiMaggio. In 1969, Joe DiMaggio came out and they retired number 7. To me, that was kind of the topping on the cake.
One of the things that people sometimes don't understand about Mantle is that he was one of the most beloved teammates ever. He would be in the lineup every day regardless of what was bothering him. He stayed in the lineup and his teammates loved him for that.
Following his retirement, Mantle worked as a television personality and a restaurateur.
The baseball memorabilia business was fueled by Mickey Mantle, no question. Mickey Mantle made so much more money in memorabilia than he ever did as a baseball player.
Mickey Mantle was a guy who was a centerpiece of a lot of people's youth, and people wanted a piece of Mickey, whether it was an autograph, whether it was a signed ball, whether it was a picture. And for as long as he lived, he was the centerpiece of a lot of autograph shows.
By the mid-90s, years of drinking had taken their toll on Mantle, and on August 13th, he died of liver cancer.
When people look back at Mickey Mantle, they're going to remember a great baseball player, a great hitter, but I think they're going to wonder, how good could he have really been if he had stayed healthy, or if he had taken better care of himself?
I was 3.5 years old when I was watching the broadcast, and the announcer came on and said, now batting the next superstar, the switch hitting center fielder from Oklahoma, Mickey Mantle, of course. And I looked at my dad and I said, you can be from Oklahoma and play in the major leagues? That's what I want to be. And he said, well, catching was the quickest way to the major leagues and what the major leagues needed, because my dad, his dream was to be a major league catcher, and the war came along. He dropped out of school. He served 8 years in the Army, never had the chance. So he wanted one of his sons. I was I was the youngest of 3 boys, and he started the team, and I was going to be a catcher, although I very seldom caught. I was a pitcher. We only had 10 boys out for the baseball team. And in Little League, we barely found 9 guys to play, because a town of 600 people, you had to go knock on doors and try to find a kid that could play. It wasn't working or mowing a yard. And so everybody knew I was a catcher. I just never caught.
That's amazing. That's amazing that you're one of the best catchers that to ever play the game, and you had a hard time being a catcher when you started out. That's pretty daggone good.
Well, I was 84-3 lifetime pitching, so that had a little bit maybe to do with it. So,
yeah. What if you were 87-0? Would you have been a pitcher?
No, I had 643, so they thought that was okay to go along with the catching. In fact, I would pitch the games, and I only pitched the finals. I pitched the finals of the county, the finals of the district, the finals of the by-district, finals of the regional, finals of the invitation, finals of the state. And I took infield as a catcher, so the scouts could watch me throw. And then I went down to Anadarko, Oklahoma, and that may not sound like something you know, but it was right. We're close to the same age, obviously, but you've got Dodger history on your side. Well, they had a third baseman for the Los Angeles Dodgers by the name of Darrell Griffith. And
right.
Darrell's brothers and I played together in American Legion ball. So there were a lot of scouts coming down to watch them play. And so I was kind of a residual. They saw me play as well. And I was playing American Legion baseball when I was 15 with the Griffith boys.
You were playing American Legion ball at 15?
Well, there really wasn't much competition, Tommy. I mean, we didn't have teams. We didn't have enough players barely at 13 and 14. So Anadarko was 20 miles away, and I would drive down there and play. There was another kid named Matt Kuykendall that played with the Cubs for a little bit. So I would drive to Anadarko, and that was the only chance I really had of playing during the summer. We just didn't have any other leagues.
And so I auditioned, and they hired me. I was still like 21 years old at the time. I still had my military service obligation, but they started me, and I usually had the 4 to midnight shift because I was the kid, and the other ones were married and had families and wanted to be home and needed to be home. In fact, I would fill in on holidays for many of them. Anyway, I started, and about 2 months after I started, I had to go to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio for what turned out to be 8 weeks of basic training with the Oklahoma Air National Guard. The station let me go, then I came back, and from there, I branched out. I didn't do sports for quite a while. I did radio news. I was a newscaster for probably 8 or 9 months. And then one day, the station program director on television said to me, "Hey, you know, we do Saturday night wrestling, and the guy who does wrestling is going on vacation for 2 weeks. We'd like you to do the wrestling show." Well, it's a hard way to break in with television, to be in a pro wrestling situation where you know not all of it was up and up. But that's what we did. And then after that, they had an audition to see who would be the play-by-play announcer of the Oklahoma football playback show on Sundays. The day after their game, that announcer would recap the whole game, play-by-play, each play, with an assistant coach sitting next to him. And I won that audition. And with that, I went into the television business more, although I kept my radio job the whole time. But that worked out. And then they said, okay, we're going to put you on the news every night at 10 o'clock. And so I went on as a sports announcer on the news from 10 to 10:30. And that continued on. Oh, gosh, I did that for, I guess, about 6 years. And one night, there was a mix-up in the station. on my show, and I can't recall whether they got the film wrong, some visual wrong, or something that was really, really bad. And I went home and I told my wife, I said, you know, these guys are amateurs. They just don't do the right things at the right time. And she made a comment that she later said, I'm not sure I should have made, and I might regret. And she said to me, if you don't like it, then find something else. Well, I got on the telephone the next morning, called a friend of mine who had been one of the news film cameramen in Oklahoma City. He had come to Channel 4. He'd come to NBC Burbank. And I said to him, do you know whether that station is looking for anybody in sports? He said, I'll call you back. He called me back. He said, as a matter of fact, they're looking for a weekend sports anchor. So send me your tapes and something that I can show them. I did. They called me back and said, we're interested in talking to you. They flew me to Los Angeles, sat down with me, talked to me, said, we like your tape. We're willing to offer you a contract right now. And here is the sum that we will pay you. Well, I was flabbergasted. I thought I was coming into a big market and would make a lot of money right off the bat. I looked down at the figures and I was astonished. And I turned and said to the two bosses who were in the room with me, will I have a chance to make more money than this? And one of them looked at me and said, if you don't, you won't be here long.
So you signed to play pro baseball when?
1965, I was 17. I got, I was drafted by the Reds in the second round. The Reds had very little, I didn't even know they were on the radar. The Cubs really wanted me. And the loose lips at a convention, somebody said, what do you think about this kid Bench? And the Reds guys said, well, we're not that high on him. And they walked out the door and said, who's Bench? They haven't even heard of me, had no chart. And they sent 2 scouts in, saw me play 2 games, and one liked the way I threw. Now, here's something, Tom. If I would have been a Cub, they had Randy Hundley.
Right.
So I'm in the major leagues when I'm 19 years old. I don't know that would have happened in Chicago. So it was very fortuitous.
The big red machine up in the sky had something planned for you.
They must have. How blessed was I?
Either. No, you know, things happen for the right reason. And the right reason for you was you were meant to be a Cincinnati Red.
I guess. And, you know, and to be able to play on that team. And then, you know, we had a great team with Lee May and Tommy Helms. And then we traded them to Houston, and we got Joe Morgan and Geronimo and Minky and Billingham, and wound up being even better. And that's when we really had the great years through the middle 70s.
Really? You guys had a good, yeah. I seem to remember that.
Good. Well, this was a mental test on your part. Okay. They asked me, can you come on and help Tommy? He's slipping a little bit. And I said, well, that means 2 slippers are on the same podcast, because I can hide my own Easter eggs. It's really good.
You know, it's funny that some of the best games I ever pitched were against Cincinnati, Philadelphia, and Boston. 3 of the teams that were big opponents on the team that I was. Boston when I was with the Yankees, and the Reds and the Phillies when I was with the Dodgers. And good players make you go to a little higher level.
Oh yeah,
of ability.
Yeah. They focus the height, and everything is heightened to that extent, the build up for it. And some people can handle it. And obviously you were one, although you know, if you'd have hit better, you would have won more games. I understand that you had 188 no decisions.
188 no decisions. Yeah.
Now that's unheard of.
I know.
That is unheard of. I mean, that in itself, I mean, with 288 wins, and those no decisions meant that you got you went deep in the game most of the time. I think the first game we ever that I faced you, and I didn't like facing you because you wouldn't throw the fastball down the middle. You kept cunny thumbing little stuff up there on the edges and everything else. I wish I had a different.
Oh, tell the people what cunny thumbing is.
Cunny thumbing is just when you won't throw it hard. You're going to cut speeds. You're going to move a little more. You'll throw a slider out there. You'll throw the sinker out there. You're never going to give in. You're just going to nibble around the edges. One of those cunny thumbers. Yeah, that's all it is. Just do it like that. Throw it like a man, for God's sake. We'd scream that from the dugout. Somebody challenge somebody. That's what. Now, I wish I had a different approach. I didn't have great success against you, but I wish I'd had a different approach because Randy Jones, not similar left-handed, not a little less velocity, if you can believe that, but he was. I couldn't hit him with a boat oar, and Bob Bailey. One day said before the game, I said, I can't hit this guy. And he said, well, look for his slider. And I said, he doesn't throw me a slider. He said, just look for the slider. Well, when I looked for the slider, the sinker just turned over and sat. It was like on a tee. I hit 3 home runs that night. So tell me when your next start is, because I want to get even, okay?
You hit a home run off me, didn't you?
I know I got one off of you, but you got me a lot more. That's still what it is. You still cunny thumbed it up there. I don't care. I'm not changing my attitude about you.
The whole thing was, I got the ball. I threw it over the plate, or not down the middle, but on the corners. And you would have to hit it. And hopefully would hit it to where my infielders or outfielders were. And that was, to me, that was pitching.
Now, what was your average number of pitches a game, would you say?
Well, the first game I won in the big leagues, I pitched 9 innings and I threw 72 pitches.
Oh, geez. Well, then you got him to hit the ball. You weren't out there to overpower anybody.
That's
nobody
right.
would look at your stats. They would say 288 wins, 188 no decisions, but they would, some people are still eaten up with the fact that you need so many strikeouts.
A great team needs a great nickname. And the Reds had that in the Big Red Machine.
Because at that time we were the best team. We were very confident. We didn't think anybody could beat us.
There it goes, a long drive. If it stays fair, home run.
I was so nervous from the night before when they tied it up. That was a nightmare. I didn't sleep all night.
It wasn't the end of the world, so to speak. It just meant we were spending another night in the great city of Boston.
23-year-old Will McEnany now is going to try and win this World Series for the Reds. And if he gets this save, it'll be the biggest of his still very young career.
Tony Perez said to me, he said, Skip, hey, Skip, take it easy. We're going to take care of you. We're going to win this thing for you.
Right now, Joe Morgan, Luke single in the center is the difference of this dramatic series.
At no time did I ever think we were going to lose the World Series. That's just the mindset I had. I had total confidence in bench and Morgan and Perez, Geronimo and Griffey.
There's a fly ball to right fielder Ken Griffey, 1 down.
You're in a World Series, you wish it would go 30 days. That's why you play the game of baseball.
McEnany's delivery, there's a ground ball to Concepcion. The Red Sox are down to their last out. The Reds are 1 out away from winning the World Championship.
Now we're ahead 4-3, and we got to get them out.
Carlton Fisk on deck. Last time Cincinnati won a World Series was 1940. Carl Yastrzemski gets a standing ovation. Well, maybe it's fitting he has the last shot of the series.
Never forget the last out. I got down in the lower part of the steps where I could just see through a little bar like that. And I'm just kind of seeing him, and I'm not seeing him. McEnany's pitching. Left-hander, and he threw a pitch and he swung.
With a high fly ball.
Yeah, I thought a very good swing. I said, oh my goodness. And I ran up the steps.
It should be all over. Geronimo's under. And Cincinnati has won the World Championship, beating the Boston Red Sox 4-3. the Reds win it in Fenway Park. They wanted this one badly. After winning 108 times this year, they ran up against a ball club that extended them right down to the final inning of Game 7.
I never appeared on that field. I was so tired and exhausted, I could not have made it.
And the Red fans should be proud of this ball club. After the Red Sox dramatically won it last night, the Reds playing on the road could have blown it tonight, but they didn't. They got behind early, 3-0. They hung in there, and they beat the Red Sox 4-3.
The Reds came back to win the most important game of the year after suffering their most devastating loss of the year. And I think that is what really made that a great team and a great victory.
It's just fun to participate in those kind of games. It's easy for me to sit here and say that now because we got the ring. You know, we won.
You need so many of this. I mean, you overpower somebody when you and Greg Maddux and guys like that were masters of the craft. And so if you don't look at numbers like that, if you get obsessed with that, then 72 pitches, that's ridiculous.
Well, I would say I averaged, when I won ball games, it would be maybe in the low 90s.
Yeah, sounds right.
And that's the speed of my fastball now. That's the number of pitches.
So let's just give the folks a little bit of what was the top end of that blazing fastball? And you had one. You had one. You just wouldn't throw it.
I wouldn't throw it. I could throw it 90, 91 miles an hour, but I chose to throw 84 to 87.
Right. Yeah. And you're on last.
So I could take speed off or add speed on, and that, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess everybody's kind of done it. I feel like I want to interview you because I want to find out about the Tommy John surgery and what you felt the first time and, what diagnosis was there. I mean, you had to see some doctor and he had to say, I've never seen this before, or you're washed up, you're done, your career's over, right?
No, I had a doctor with the Dodgers. His name was Frank Jobe. And when I hurt my elbow, we didn't have MRIs. All we had were X-rays. So all they could see was the bone in my elbow, and it was fine. But my elbow was loose. And Dr. Jobe said, I think you've torn the ligament in your elbow. And my comeback to him was, okay, what do we do? And he said, well, I've never really done this before on somebody that makes a living throwing a baseball. He said, I've done ligament replacement surgeries on polio patients, but never on somebody that makes a living throwing a baseball. I said, okay, then don't do the surgery. He said, I can tell you this. If we don't do the surgery, you'll never pitch again. I said, okay, if we do the surgery. And he said, you probably won't pitch again. Probably won't pitch is a heck of a lot better than never pitch. So I said, okay, let's do it. And that was
what age were you at this time?
That was 1974. I was 31, which is quite old, actually.
It is, yeah, for a left-handed pitcher, and back in those days, you were over the hill at 32, 33. They were going to farm you out anyway, put you out to pasture.
Well, they would have put me out to pasture with the Dodgers, but fortunately for me, they got a new shepherd in by the name of Lasorda.
the wizard.
You talk about baseball BS. Everything that came out of my mouth was BS.
Perfect. You described it. That's all you have to say. Yes, that was the perfect way of doing it. He was the best car salesman I ever saw.
Oh, yes, he could sell you a used car and all that. Yeah, absolutely. I tell you what he did one time. He would always call us up. Hey, TJ, yeah, can you come get me tonight? Okay. So I go by his house, pick him up, pick up Bill Russell, pick up Bert Hooton, and maybe Joe Ferguson, and we go to the ballpark.
The National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum presents Pointers from the Pros. This video is made possible by a generous gift from All Natural Alberto Beef Jerky. You get out what you put in.
So, well, basically I had a fastball grip, and then my changeup grip was the same thing, just throwing off my ring finger. Fingers go wherever they want. And then a little cutter would be like that, and a curve, something like that. So, pretty basic, pretty fundamental. It's kind of stuff you learn in Little League, and it still works later on, you know?
They never taught me that. Well, show me the change again. It was only with the ring finger, basically?
Well, it's really with these two fingers, and then wherever the ones want to settle in and get comfortable is fine. So that was kind of my change-up. And then just try to throw it exactly like your fastball and let your finger slow it down, not your arm.
But anyhow,
all right. So but it was a free lunch. I mean, it was always. Well, you were going to the ballpark. He made you pick you up and take you to the ballpark.
Yeah.
Attaboy, Tommy.
When he was a manager, we'd have to go by and pick him up. Now, how many managers did Sparky Henderson ever call you up and say, "Hey, JB"?
Never did. No, he never did. No, you know, after I retired, I retired, and of course, Tommy and I did the baseball bunch, but I went down to see Tommy at the office, you know, when he'd come into the Cincinnati to, you know, for them to play, and I'd go in, and of course, first thing he had was a dozen or two baseballs so that I could sign them so he could give them away across America so he could get a free dinner. Oh yeah, I just quit going to see him. I mean, he was a beauty. What a beauty. He loved talking about it. And, you know, the great thing was he had great players to back him up. I mean, that infield of yours, which was, I think, 8 years that it was intact.
Yes.
Unheard of.
Garvey, Lopes, Russell, and Say.
Yep, the Penguin.
It was funny that Lasorda would, money to him was like gold to me. And he called us up on a Sunday and he said, "I'm going to come by and pick you up." Oh, okay. And so I told my wife, I said, "Geez, that's amazing that Tommy's doing this because he doesn't usually do that." So we're waiting for him. He pulls up and she said, "Tommy, would you like a cup of coffee?" Oh, God, I would love it. So he's sitting there drinking a cup of coffee, and the guy's in the car saying, "Lasorda, let's go. We're going to be late." Don't worry about it. Well, you said, okay, here's the manager of the ball club driving you to the ballpark. You're going to be late, but he's the reason you're going to be late. So you don't have to worry about it. So we get to the ballpark. We're like 45 minutes late. And we're sitting there getting dressed to put our uniforms on to go out and run a little bit and whatever. And he comes out of his office and he said, "You four guys that were late have $100 on my desk."
Welcome back to MLB Tonight. Obviously, a lot of reaction around baseball among current players regarding the passing of Tommy Lasorda. This from free agent infielder and outfielder Kike Hernandez. Rest in peace, Tommy. We'll never forget all the great conversations, the memories, the stories. Last couple of years, I'd look forward to 6 p.m. before every home game, getting to talk to you for 5 to 10 minutes. Always made my day. We will all miss you, Tommy. That from Kike Hernandez. Here now, sampling of the reaction on the passing of Tommy Lasorda from Friday on MLB Network.
Tom Lasorda passing away yesterday, the Hall of Famer, who had been the oldest living Hall of Famer, gone at the age of 93.
One of the great characters in the history of sports. He always had a bounce in his step. He was always optimistic.
The world revolved around Tommy when he was in the room. He'll be dearly missed.
He loved you, cared about you for who you were and not what you look like or what you believe. That was just him. And that's the special thing and what we're going to miss about Tommy Lasorda.
When you were around him, you could feel the energy. He had a love of life. I mean, that's what you feel.
He bled Dodger blue, that was real. He bled baseball, that was real. A wonderful ambassador.
He was larger than life. He was bigger than he was the Dodgers.
71 years in an organization, 93 years old, 20 years as a manager. I mean, when you think Dodger blue, you thought Tommy Lasorda.
Tommy loved the Dodgers. He loved baseball. This year he was there in Texas, and that's one of my proudest moments that we got to fulfill one of his dreams.
And what stands out to me still, Brian, to this day is the 1988 playoff run to the World Series title, the Gibson home run, but really the fact that that team was an overachieving type of club that was fueled by his positiveness, his positivity.
When I think about why I achieved success, and it's hard, but you know, it was because of what he committed into my life and then did not let you let up from it on a daily basis. You're talking about a person that is one of a kind. And to play for Tommy Lasorda, it was a one-of-a-kind experience. The stories are endless.
I was right in the front row, but obviously Vlad let the bat go, and then Tommy just flat out yard sale right there. And Zimmer's like, you serious? Just some athleticism. You know, we're both older guys, but clean it up. So Tommy comes over. Tommy's a funny guy. Like, he always has the best stories. I can't remember exactly what he said, but whatever he said was really funny at the time. I was just like, oh yeah, I can't believe I'm here at the All-Star game. It's pretty awesome.
He was so much more than the guy that you hear about in the uniform bleeding Dodger blue. He meant so much to so many people. And this was a guy who made you feel special.
Tommy knew what it was like to be on the softer side of things. He knew about people's feelings, and he knew that I was going to battle through this if I was just given an opportunity to do it. And through the grace of God and a lot of hard work and the backing of Tommy, I was able to gut through that and went on to play another 14 years in the big league. So thankfully, I had him as my manager.
And he decides, well, let's go watch Alex play baseball. So we go to the Little League field and we have our game. And I just remember, like, playing in the middle of the game, there's a huge line of fans and people that were there, and realized, oh, Tommy Lasorda is watching this Little League game at a Little League park. And sure enough, he spent the whole day signing autographs. But at the same time, every time I came up to bat, he made sure he made everyone stop so he could watch me hit.
I really got the feeling that the way you knew in America that it was an authentic Italian restaurant was they had 3 pictures on the wall. They had the Pope, they had the Frank Sinatra, and they had Tommy Lasorda. That's how you knew it was a real Italian restaurant.
The most amazing person that anyone could ever be around, and believe me, he'll never be replaced.
Guys like that, they do live forever. And I mean, he's one of a kind.
I think that we cannot ever forget the love he had for baseball in general, the Dodgers in particular, and you know, win or lose, man, he bled Dodger blue, and just continued to share that passion, that love, and let his legacy live on forever.
That's your fine for being late. We said, Lasorda, you drove us. He said, I don't care who drives you. You got to be here on time. And we had to put $100.
No.
And then I noticed his wife had a couple new outfits. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
know where the money went.
Yeah, well, you got to dress for the next party. Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. So how old are you now? What are you, 80 yet?
I will be 80 May 22nd.
May 22nd. Wow. How you feeling?
I've been better. I've got a little bladder cancer
No.
that every Tuesday, I've got 3 more Tuesdays to go to get, it's not chemotherapy, it's BCG. It's something they mix up, and they put in my bladder, and it kills whatever cancer cells that are in there.
I hope so. I hope so. We don't need to be messing around. I mean,
no. But it's
don't we all, we used to talk about, this and that and this and that. Now, what are we talking about? The weather and what kind of medications you're on. It's like I turned 75 in December, and I said to this friend of mine that I thought was a friend, and I said, "Do I look 75?" She said, "No, but you used to." I said, what kind of deal is this? Oh yeah, you used to. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, the old times is the old times.
Respected and treasured by his players and fans for his sunny disposition, George Sparky Anderson was adept at managing diverse personalities. He compiled 2,194 victories over a 26-year career with the Reds and Tigers, a total that at his retirement was third all-time, behind only Connie Mack and John McGraw. While with the Reds, Anderson earned the nickname Captain Hook for his quick removal of struggling starting pitchers. He was selected Manager of the Year 4 times, twice each with the Reds and the Tigers. Anderson was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in the year 2000.
But how long you been doing the podcast?
This year.
Yeah, about a year.
Yeah.
We started with Reggie, Bucky, Jim Cott, Steve Garvey.
Bucky Dent.
Yeah, there's only one Bucky.
Bucky Beaver.
Well, he didn't play that long.
Do you still play golf?
No. No, warranty ran out on all my parts. I just sort of didn't enjoy it, but at the same time, I had 78 chips taken out of my shoulder from the foul balls and tore up the cartilage. I had to reattach my bicep. I suffered from the car wreck I had when I was 18, a drunk driver on the wrong side of the 4-lane. And I've got boys now, they're 17 and 13, and then Bobby's 33. So right now, my whole life is centered around tennis, soccer, school, fixing breakfast, getting them off to school at 7 o'clock in the morning, feeding them at night. And I'm perfectly happy. I haven't made a bogey in quite a while.
You used to play quite a bit, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I played 9 senior tour events. Yeah, I played well through a period of time, and then that drunk driver, when the impact was on I went out to pass a bus on a 4-lane highway, and here's the drunk driver on the wrong side. Hit my brakes, hit me right in the door, and the doctor said, "You're going to pay for this later on in your life." So I had to have both hips replaced because of the impact right on the door. And I've got like 5 or 6 bad discs, but I'm a catcher,
There's a high drive to deep right center. That one is going, and it is gone in the upper deck. A tremendous drive on a high outside pitch by Johnny Bench. I was just about to say that Blue doesn't give up many homers either.
Kurt, that's the kind of pitch you rarely see hit off a hard-throwing fastball pitcher like Vida Blue or a Koufax or any other hard thrower. A pitch high and almost in the eyes of Johnny Bench.
And a pitch to Bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. Back goes Clemente. At the fence. He's done! Harris. A curveball's high to throw by Bench. And he's out at second base. Joe Morgan took the throw.
Campaneris a pretty good jump. Johnny Bench, though, can throw out anybody if he throws a strike, and that's what he threw to Joe Morgan. And they nipped Campaneris at second. Bench this year threw out 60% of the men who tried to steal on him.
He had a good lead off first base, but that rifle arm, Johnny Bench, what more can you say, Al? You've seen it all year long.
Morgan going and takes it in foul ground. Here comes Odom, and he is out. The ball game is over. Johnny Bench tests American League hurler Bill Singer in the 4th. Johnny Bench's home run gives the National League a 2-run margin, 3-1.
It's all right here, Joe. Here it is. High fly ball, left field. Foster's got a shot. They're tagging up at third. Here comes the throw. It is in time. Doyle is out. Foster to Bench. A double play.
There's a high fly ball. It should be all over. Geronimo's under it. And Cincinnati has won the World Championship, beating the Boston Red Sox 4-3. Mickey Rivers with an outstanding stolen base percentage. He attempted 50 this season. He was successful 43 times. 860 the percentage. He's off. Bench throwing. They got him. Johnny Bench to Joe Morgan, and it was a no contest play at second base.
Oh, that's gone if it's fair. Hit the screen for a home run. Johnny Bench has just put the Reds out in front 3-1. And Figueroa got that ball where I thought was a good spot up and in. And as Tony said, Bench's new style of aiming that bat at the pitcher, he timed it beautifully. Deep to left field. Roy White going way back, leaps and home run. It's a home run. They've signaled home run. Even though Roy White, the left field umpire, Lou DeMuro, has signaled a home run, so Johnny Bench has just hit his second home run of the night, a 3-run homer, and the Cincinnati Reds now lead 6-2.
Swung on and hit well to left field. Get out of here, baseball! It's gone! Oh my God! Can you believe it? Johnny Bench has tied it up. Amazing! Absolutely amazing!
It's just what life is. You walk like a catcher. That's the good thing about it. When people see me, they say, "Oh, you were a catcher," so they automatically know. Hell, you didn't get this way naturally. You were a catcher, so I paid the price.
When you play in golf, if you had to get a foursome, who would be in your foursome? The other three golfers.
Bobby Knight, Arnold Palmer, and you always want to say your dad. My dad would have just, I don't know if he could have got the tee in the ground. I felt that way the first time I teed it up with Arnold. I couldn't get the ball on the tee, but that would be pretty good. I played a lot of golf with Freddie Couples. I played with Jack, but Arnold was the king. Arnold was doing it, and then Bobby Knight. I named my. And probably, I wouldn't. Bob Hope was obviously who my oldest son is named after, Bob Hope and Bobby Knight. And Bobby was just a great friend. We fished, we fly fished. I've only been shot one time really with hunting, and that was he's friend. I can't give Bobby the credit. We were hunting along the creek and it's windy as hell. You couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear the birds flush or anything else. They were on the other side of the creek, and it kind of wound around, made a little curve here. So they went around it, and I went ahead. And the next thing you know, I hear bam, bam, and I'm up in front. And fortunately, I've got this real thick hunting jacket on and a hat and everything else. And all of a sudden, splat. I mean, I'm getting pellets all over my back and my hat and everything else. And I immediately hit the ground. And I could hear Bobby back there. "Oh, hell, you killed the catcher. You killed the catcher." I was afraid to get up. I thought that was still incoming. I thought they were still taking rounds, But we laughed. We still laughed about that. But we go fishing, we go hunting, we played golf. One of the great moments, and I got to go to the Olympic trials when he was coaching the basketball team for the Olympic. And we were out in San Diego, and I got to practice. I had my own uniform. I got to practice with Jordan and Mullins and Tisdale and Ewing. And I mean, it was just one of those great moments in my life. So I've had some great experiences with Bobby.
Bobby Knight was a good man. We're playing in a golf tournament back in Indiana. And I get a phone call like about 6 o'clock in the morning. And hello. And they said, "We need you to come out and play this morning round and play the afternoon round." okay. So my dad is my roommate, and he said, what's wrong? Who died? And I said, Pop, not every phone call is a death call. He says, well, when you get my age, it is. And they want me to play with Bob Knight. You're going to play with Coach Knight? Yeah. Oh, I'll be there. I'll be there. So he said, but I got to have breakfast. So he goes over and gets breakfast, and I'm out on the golf course. And I told Bob, I said, now my dad's going to come up in a bit. He said, okay, I'll take care of him. So he comes, and my dad's sitting there, and he said, Mr. John, get your ass over here. Tommy, get your ass over in that cart. So my dad and I flipped carts. And the next 13 holes, Bob Knight and my dad were they were yakking it up and talking and laughing. And I said, I don't care what he does. He will never, ever have a bad word in my vocabulary, because he made an old man feel so special that day. That was Bob Knight. People know him as Bob Knight throwing a chair and all that. Well, yeah, he gets a little upset, but he could coach basketball, though, Johnny.
Oh, I went over for practice, and I stayed for the game. And at that time, they had a guy named Steve Alford.
I'd like to refer to this whole thing, from start to finish, as a real Mickey Mouse operation. But that'd be an insult to Mickey Mouse.
I'll paraphrase Churchill a little bit when he talked about the Battle of Britain. Never have so many thought they knew so much and actually knew so little.
I don't think I would ever qualify as a biblical scholar. I mean, that's what I get paid to do.
No motivational device I've ever come across is as good as this.
Your players were asked this too. Do they fear you at times on the court?
I mean, I wouldn't know why. I never carry a gun with me. I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, I'm going to play. If I've ever shot a kid, I'm scared to play for me. If I walked out there and I'm saying, boy, that son of a bitch shot 3 guys last year. In my entire adult life, I've never used the expression game face. So I have no idea what it means or what you're supposed to do. But again, before you interrupted me, and you have a real faculty for doing that.
Thank you.
No, I don't think it's anything to really be too proud of myself. I think when I talked about Pat...
Bob, you came here to do an interview. I'm asking you questions.
When I talked... Well, then let me finish the answer. Is that okay, Jeremy?
Ahead.
Is that fair enough?
Please, go right
Have I interrupted your questions yet?
Yes.
No, I haven't. You've interrupted my answers with your questions, and then I've tried to get back. So let me finish this. You got a long way to go to be as good as your dad. You better keep that in mind.
Get that sign and put it down! I don't want to see that sign again, or I'll clear this out! You got that?
Here he lies, deep beneath this veneer of glass. He was a tough guy, and he kissed nobody's ass. We only got 2 people that are going to tell you I'm not going to be here. One is our SID, and the other is me. Who the hell told you I wasn't going to be here? I'd like to know. Do you have any idea who it was? Yeah, I do. Who? I'll put him out to be on line. They were from Indiana, right? No, they're not. No, weren't from Indiana, and you didn't get it from anybody from Indiana, did you? No, I'll handle this the way I want to handle it now that I'm here. You f***ed it up to begin with. Now just sit there or leave. I don't give a what you do. Now, back to the game. Unnamed sources. Tell me what's an unnamed source. Anybody do that? I mean, tell me what the hell is, you're going to ask me questions. What's an unnamed source? As an unnamed source, me standing up here and saying that I just was told outside by somebody who doesn't wish to be identified that 65% of the men in this room are having extramarital affairs with sheep. Is that an unnamed source?
If Alford wants to sit down and talk to me instead of holding press conferences about a lot of bull, I'll be glad to sit down and talk to him and explain things to him a little bit. If that's what, in fact, he wants to do, instead of going through a lot of bull, that most of which has not happened in press conferences. This and that guy is the greatest travesty I've ever seen in basketball in 33 years as a college head coach.
Yes. Steve could shoot it. Oh my gosh. And so now the game's over and Indiana's won and I'm in the locker room and he's taking me and stepping in front of every locker, introducing me to every player. And we get to Steve Alford.
The first time I met Arnold Palmer I was about 15 years old. I did an industrial film for Sears. He was there, sponsored by Sears, and I was like a little child actor. So I have a picture with him, and I have a golf ball he signed for me. Cut to 10 years later, I was playing in the Lexus Challenge, and it was only 12 senior tour players and 12 celebs, and I got Arnold as my partner. And it was the most amazing draw of all time. I just felt so lucky. It was a unique format because my score counted for their purse. And I'll never forget, we were playing on a par 5, and Arnold was having some trouble. And I had hit a good drive, and I had my 3-wood out, I was ready to hit, and Arnold was kind of slashing around. And I was like, no, give me my wedge, I'm just gonna lay up. And he saw me from across the fairway and came running over, hey, don't you lay up on me. I was like, okay, Mr. Palmer. He's like, hit the 3-wood. And so I hit the 3-wood, and I don't even remember what happened. I was just so shocked, but it was so classic Arnold, always going for broke and not playing out of fear. The only other Arnold story that I always laugh about, at the Bob Hope we were playing one time, we were signing autographs for people, and he saw me signing autographs, and he looked there and goes, the hell is that? I go, it's my signature. He goes, well, sign it so they can read it, because if you've ever seen Arnold's signature, it's perfect. And he was really offended by my signature, so I worked on it after that.
I was doing a Pittsburgh Steelers game a few years ago, and I called him up and said, hey, I've got a free afternoon. Mind if I drive up to Latrobe, see you? Come on up. Went up to the house, no gate, no posse of people around him to insulate the king, Arnold and Kit. And after an hour visit, it was time to get back in the car, and Arnold walks me to the car. I come down the driveway, and I just happen to take one last look up at the house, and I'm glad I did. There was Arnold at the top of the driveway, waving goodbye. Now, there are a lot of people that are big, even more so they think they're big. I don't know how many would have that scene right there play out. That's Arnold Palmer. That's the kind of man he is.
First time I ever played in Bay Hill. It was early in the morning. I walk in, I go right into the locker room and get on my shoes and go straight across the hall to where Justine is in family dining to get breakfast before I go out. And I don't even take 2 steps into the door and he's sitting there. First thing he says to me is, Mr. Reed, please take your hat off. And I'm like, I didn't quite get there fast enough. I literally was 2 steps inside the door and I took off my hat, and it just shows you how much respect he has for not only golf, but everybody.
I was fortunate enough when I retired. My manager at the time, Mike Burnett, told me one day we have an opportunity that we're going to play, the 4 of us, McCormick and Mr. Palmer and Mike Burnett and myself, and we played Bay Hill. And one of the par 3s was over water, and Mr. Palmer said, I think it's a 3-iron, and his caddy said, no, Mr. Palmer, it's a 2-iron. And he hit his 3-iron short, and he hit it into the water. And his caddy said, I told you, Mr. Palmer, it's a 2-iron. And he put another ball down on the ground and hit the 3-iron, and he knocked it in for a 3. And he looked at the caddy and said, I told you it was a 3-iron. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
More than 10 years ago, I was at a career crossroads. I was offered a chance to be a host on one of the morning television shows. It happens to be Arnold's last round competitively at Augusta. And I'm waiting for him on the practice putting green, just steps off the first tee. And here he comes, out of the back of the clubhouse. The human tunnel is formed. The ovation is building as Arnold makes his way up and graciously acknowledges everyone. And as he's making his way up to the punting green, he sees me and he goes, and he starts coming my way. And he said, "Have you made your decision yet?" And I said, "Yes, I have. I'm staying in sports. I love my job too much. This was the childhood dream." And he said, "You made the right decision." He said, "Was it a hard decision?" I said, "It was, and I'll tell you why. My dad was still alive, but deep in the throes of that dark abyss known as Alzheimer's." And I said, it was the first time I faced such a crucial life decision that I couldn't turn to my dad and say, "Hey, tell me, I want to hear what you think." He says, "You did hear your dad." And he leaned over and he said, "He was right there. He's in your heart, always." And I thought, wow. Roy came over, son-in-law, and said, "Hey, we gotta go." I mean, Arnold had been shaking every hand on the way, and he hadn't even practiced a putt. And Arnold said, "Okay, let me just drop 3. He dropped 3 balls. He was 12 feet away from the cup. Went boom, in the hole, boom, in the hole, boom, in the hole. And off he went for one last journey around Augusta.
And he said, "Steve, this is the greatest defensive player ever in the history of baseball. Johnny, would you please tell Steve something about defense?" And I said, "Well, you go out and score 30, your man scores 20. That's defense." God damn, I'm not going to tell me everything.
From West Point, Lakenheath, England, Hanau, Germany, and the USS John F. Kennedy in Suda Bay, Crete. From Utapao and Ubon, Thailand. From Camp Eagle, Da Nang, and Long Binh in Vietnam. From the USS Sanctuary in the South China Sea. From Yeonjugal and Osan in Korea. And from Elmendorf Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska. The Bob Hope Christmas Special. Around the Globe with the USO. Starring Ursula Andress, Johnny Bench, Lola Falana, The Gold Diggers, Gloria Loring, Bobby Martin, The Dingalings, Miss World Jennifer Hostin, Miss United Kingdom Yvonne Orm, and Les Brown and his band of renown.
It's over 7,000 miles from Crete to our second home, Bangkok. Here we were greeted by our ambassador, Leonard Unger, and commanding general and golfer, James Gibbons, and some lovely ladies with garlands of flowers. Our first assignment is Utapao. Utapao is a Royal Thai Air Force base, one of the largest and one of the busiest. Our tankers and B-52s take off from here. I don't know where they go, but it can't be chartered flights. You never see any tourists on them. What are they, native girls? Connie, Helene, Cheryl? Everybody down. All right, let's go. Here we are in Thailand at a place called Utapao. In case you're wondering where Utapao is, it's just a few miles from Sattahip. So much for educational TV. Now, but I love this place, the Utapao Hilton. Look at that, John. Look at that. Look at those cliff dwellers back there. Look at them. I can't believe this place is over here, though, with all these buildings. It looks like downtown Peoria was drafted. And they have a wonderful mess hall here, though. It's the first time I've ever seen... All right, let me finish this line, will you? They have a wonderful mess hall here. It's the first time I've ever seen Spam wrapped in a banana leaf. Hey, aren't you glad you waited? Yeah, preload B shift. Merry Christmas. Thanks, Bob. Okay, duck it. Wapakoneta, Ohio. Hey, you're kidding. Neil Armstrong's home. Yes, sir. Just two of you, huh? They drafted the mayor and the sheriff. Now, this is the only base in Thailand that has a beach, but some of you have been complaining it's just not like the beaches at home, so every 6 months the Navy is going to dump an oil slick on it. It's back to two-a-day. Our second outing for the day is a supper show up at Ubon for Colonel Larry M. Kilpack and his wolf pack. Like a good mother, Colonel Kilpack sent a couple of babysitters down from the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing to look after us. It was a great comfort to have these phantoms protecting us. Those Thai mosquitoes are murder. Our diggers never waste a moment. Here they are between gigs autographing fan pictures in their usual sentimental manner. Over 8,000 jet jockeys have been waiting since noon to see the Gold Diggers. Not willing to brave it alone, I sent for the best legs in the cast. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you'll get a kick out of this next cat. At the ripe old age of 22, he was voted the most valuable player in the National Baseball League and was also named Player of the Year. He led both leagues by slamming out 45 home runs and knocking in 148 runs. He batted .293 for the season, and here he is, the catcher for the Cincinnati Reds, Mr. Johnny Bench, right here. Welcome to our little junket.
Thank you, Bob, and I'm even surprised you asked me to come with you.
Why are you surprised?
I'm not a girl.
Well, your see-through pants fooled me, I want to tell you that. Johnny, the Gold Diggers are mad about you, but you've ignored them. Why is that?
They are adorable, but they're all married.
Who told you that?
You did.
I did?
Yeah, right after you told me to wear my catcher's mask all the time. I almost starved to death.
Well, I just wanted everyone to know who you are. It's your identification.
I guess you're right. I notice you never go anywhere without your nose.
How are you getting along with the girls?
It could be better, Bob, but there's no privacy. By the way, were you ever an umpire?
What gives you that idea?
You're always looking over my shoulder.
With your batting average, I'm not taking any chances. Jan, do you think that the players nowadays are smarter than they used to be?
Well, look at it this way, Bob. Right now I could be sitting on the beach in Nassau, a daiquiri in one hand, a blonde in the other. Instead, I'm here in the jungle with you.
Yeah, when did you first notice that you were simple? Well, anyway, you're 23, good-looking, and your hitting and throwing has made you a lot of bread. How come you're not married?
I can run, too.
I've been meaning to ask you, John, why do they call catcher's gear the tools of ignorance?
Well, you got to be a little flaky to be a catcher. Which reminds me of a question I've been meaning to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Why do they call them idiot cards?
If there's anything I hate, it's a cocky little leaguer. You know what I wouldn't give to be built like you? Believe me, I wish my muscles were as big as the muscles your muscles give birth to. What do you think of this one here? Feel that.
It's cute. What's it going to be when it grows up?
All right, so I haven't got a big muscle, but look at that chest. Look at that chest.
Gee, I'm sorry about that, Bob. How did it happen?
Well, Johnny, everybody wonders what you talk about when you go out to the mound to confer with the pitcher.
Well, mostly I just try to relax him and ease the tension.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we get in our uniforms and show him?
Okay.
Take a breather, Lefty. Get a load of chick in the fifth row.
I did. Why do you think I walked the last 4 men?
Wow, is that a skirt she's wearing or a belt?
How about that guy? Johnny Bench. Johnny Bench right there. on the way home now with memories of a great Christmas. Christmas, the season of giving. It wasn't long before we realized we weren't on the giving, we were on the receiving end. We journeyed once around the world and came home convinced we got more than we gave. Yes, sir, a lot more than we gave. I only wish a lot of you mothers, dads, wives, and sweethearts could have shared the good times we had with your favorite fellas. I wish we could have shown you the entire show, but no chance in an hour and a half. The show ran over 2 hours at every stop. But the important show wasn't on the stage. The real show was out there in the audience, the faces of the men. No matter how many times you go, you still get excited about meeting this kind of audience, the greatest in the world. On Christmas Eve, we flew from Da Nang to the hospital ship Sanctuary in the China Sea. Here we had our most enthusiastic audience, about 300 convalescents being patched up before being sent back into the field. Also quite a few who couldn't be patched up that well, so, well, they'll be sent home to be near their families. This is not the sort of scene that makes the 7 o'clock news, but in terms of the future, it is vastly more important. These are Vietnamese children suffering with all the ailments that come with a disaster. Malnutrition, disease, and some with wounds inflicted by a ruthless war. These dedicated doctors and nurses cure not only the physical ills, they also help heal the spirit of these innocents who have taken such a beating in this conflict. These youngsters will have to rebuild and live in the Vietnam of tomorrow, and everything we can do to keep them sound in mind and body is an investment in the future of the world. Everyone agrees that this most unpopular of wars has lasted too long, but now for the first time we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. They are coming home, although never fast enough when someone you love is involved. The president's troop withdrawal plan is working. We are getting out of Vietnam, but we can't run out. With a little more patience and unity here at home, and with God's help, this war will end within the next year. And we'll have the satisfaction of knowing that we've preserved the freedom of not only South Vietnam, but also of Southeast Asia. 45,000 of our Americans have paid the full price, and 250,000 more have been wounded in this conflict. And I think the least all of us Americans can do is to work together for a lasting peace. In peace, as in war, a nation's greatest resource is unity. One purpose, a single goal. In our hearts and minds, we must know where we're going or we'll never get there. And in the eyes of the world, we must remain the leading nation in the councils of the world, not only in military might, but in wisdom. For the world still looks to us for leadership, an awesome responsibility which we can accomplish only if there is national unity. These boys deserve the full support of all Americans. We had a Merry Christmas with them. Good night.
I said, Coach, if every player outscores their player, their guy they're guarding by 10, you're going to win by 50. I said, what the hell do you want anyway? So yeah, that was our relationship, and oh my gosh.
But that's good. I love that.
Yeah.
But that's Coach Knight. That's Coach Knight. That's Bob Knight.
Yes, it is. We have the whole respect. We have our own respect. We know the man and we love the man.
Yeah. Who was your favorite teammate?
Now that would be hard because we were blessed. There was nobody better than Tony Perez. Joe Morgan and I were so close together. Pete and I were in business forever. You had Freddie Norman. You had, Jack Billingham. I don't think there was a guy on there, and you can take Cesar Geronimo and Pedro Borbon. I don't think there was a guy on there that I could say anything negative about. They were just absolutely quality, wonderful people. And I still talk to a lot of them.
And I tell you what, they could play baseball too.
You noticed that? Yeah, I was blessed, obviously, when people do that. And I still speak across the country, and people come up to me and said, I was a Cub fan. I was a Phillies fan, but boy, we respected you guys.
Michael get it pulled with a fresh shot clock. MJ. Oh, he did it! And Michael shakes the finger. Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
Will calm you down. They'll work their plays. Steele. He kept it in bounds. Here it is again. Oh,
but against the Bulls, he does. Here's Jordan. He blows by Pearson, jammed it down. He blew by
Jordan out front, pressured by Dennis Johnson. Michael on the drive, in from the right. Hesitation move to the hoop for the right. Scoop shot, good on the reverse move.
Michael!
12-6 Boston.
Jordan with the drive and the reverse. Michael Jordan.
This is a great move by Michael Jordan. Great reverse underneath the basket. Great suspension. Great touch.
A chance to cut the lead down to 11, which is as few as it's been since the first quarter. Now watch as Michael Jordan comes at the bottom of your screen here, how he leaves the defensive man. Dumars was thinking that he had rotation help. Woo! Wow. Watch the quickness that he pivots here. There it is right there.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go, puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Michael Jordan hit the basket at the buzzer as a disconsolate Lenny Wilkens leaves the floor, and for the second time today, the visiting team has won the deciding game in an opening round series, and the Chicago Bulls will move on to play the New York Knicks in the best of 7. Right now, let's go right over to JB with Michael Jordan's
left corner jumper, rimming, no. Rebound, Cartwright, off to Jordan. Michael underneath for the dunk. Whoa! Michael Jordan, power jam in Barkley's face. The Bulls lead is 5.
Barkley looking for the offensive foul. He said, did you see his arm come out?
Jordan trying to shake off Starks. Oh, what a move by Jordan! It counts, and the foul.
Michael Jordan at his best. There's very few people on this planet that can do this.
He's just simply amazing.
Puts it on the floor, stripped by Jordan. Loose ball to Grant, ahead for Michael, into the front court. Behind his back comes left wing, now down the lane, all the way for the two-hand slam, and the foul on Alan Ogg. That is vintage Jordan super stuff.
I'll tell you, I hope nobody blinked watching that one, because this is Michael Jordan at his best. There's very few people on this planet that can do this.
And he comes up very short on that one. Ahead to Scotty. Had to run out, catch it, now throws it back to Michael. Caught him with one hand from 15 off the board. Talk about an athlete. What a shot. A save and a shot by MJ.
Harper's alone, a 13-footer, and he misses. Rodman can't tip it in. Rebound O'Neal now. Stolen by Jordan from Hardaway. Picked him. Bluffs one at the line. They leave him open. Oh, the Bulls are up. Oh, baby. He left jock straps all over the hardwood down here.
Oh, but how he read that play to steal the pass, Brent, and then pump fake the ball as only Michael Jordan can do.
Disciplined defense, forced the fadeaway jumper. Don't foul. Jazz over the foul limit. We're down to 5. Jordan putting moves on Russell. We're down to 2. Now to 1. Here's Jordan. Yes! It is all over. The Chicago Bulls have won at the buzzer in Game 1 of the best of 7 on the jump shot by Michael Jordan. The Bulls with an 84-82 victory in dramatic fashion over the Utah Jazz. Michael Jordan going right at Brian Russell and hitting on the jump shot.
Malone is doubled. They swat at it and steal it. Here comes Chicago. 17 seconds. 17 seconds from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan open. Chicago with the lead. Timeout, Utah. 5.2 seconds left. Michael Jordan running on fumes. with 45 points.
At the end of the game, you got to get it out of his hands. He's a killer.
That may have been, who knows what will unfold in the next several months, but that may have been the last shot Michael Jordan will ever take in the NBA. If that's the last image of Michael Jordan, how magnificent is it?
And then they start naming the lineup. They know where everybody was in the lineup. You know,
Yeah.
Frost, Ramo, Griffey, you know, in their outfield. And, you know, it was like they respected the way we played. And that's what made the Dodgers and us so great, is the fact that, you know, we had continuity. We had the continuity of being together and the players, and you could recognize them. You knew who exactly was who was going to be there every day, and you could pull for them, and you had an association. Now it's a lot different, but it's a money game now.
I watched the.
What would you do with 30 million a year? What the hell?
It's because you got some guy sitting up there from Harvard or Yale that's into analytics telling the pitching coach or the manager when this guy should hit or when this guy, the pitcher should pitch and how many pitches and all that. Come on.
Tommy, this is very vital. You have to know what the barometric pressure is. You know how much the wood and the speed of the bat, the velo and the launch. I mean, you really got to get up with it, man. You're getting old. I can't tell you, you know, it's like Sparky, they asked Sparky, said, how do you judge talent? And he went,
right there. Yes.
I can see it.
Yes.
I can see it. You watch a guy throw and you said, ooh, this guy's got some stuff. This guy's got potential. This guy's got a release point. This guy's not hiding the ball. He's not allowing the ball to come out of the glove. He doesn't have a blind spot. He's not doing this. He's not changing speed. You can see that in a matter of nanoseconds. And
Absolutely.
yet we still have a guy that's been sitting in the basement that still doesn't know, you know, how to hit a fungo, you know, but he's got it all down. And here you are, and you're running it. And I think they're getting away from it a little bit, but at the same time, a lot of it's good. I can't, you know, but you know, here's the clock, the pitch clock. I love it. Now the bases.
That's I like the pitch clock because
you would have they could have made it 10 seconds for you.
Well, my was if I got you to hit before you were ready to hit, I had you.
Sure.
And I got the ball, boom, got back, got my sign, threw it, got the ball, boom, threw it. Let's go. And you're in there. And, you know.
I can't compute that fast. Yeah, you're a cunny thumber. I don't care still.
Cunny thumber. I was a cunny thumber.
It took you how many wins? 288?
Yep. 288. And then I had the surgery done. I missed half of the 74 season, all of the 75 season. And then I came back and I pitched 76 to 79. And I never missed a start.
Really?
In the 13 years, never missed a start.
So tell me how it felt. Tell me how the arm felt.
Well, we didn't have, I asked Dr. Jobe, I said, what do you want me to do? You know, when he took the cast off and all that. And he said, well, just get ready as if you were going to pitch a game. Okay. So he let me throw, and I started throwing to my wife in the backyard. And, you know, you just throwing the ball, little bloops there. Had I known then what I know now, I would have thrown harder, probably would have hurt my arm, but I would have hurt her more.
No, you couldn't hurt. I've seen her. She can handle your stuff.
Yeah, maybe. And then I moved up to my neighbor who played softball. I threw to him. Then we went to spring training, And down at Vero Beach, they have a wall. And I would go out there with 6 new baseballs every day.
They were baseball's first professional team, and as such, in 1869, the Cincinnati Red Stockings were baseball's only undefeated team. From that point on, baseball had a home in Cincinnati. A century later, the Reds were hailed as the team to watch in the 1970s. The entire Cincinnati organization was optimistic as it made plans for the new domain of the Big Red Machine. Old Crosley Field became a flea market for souvenirs of the past. In mid-season 1970, the switch was made. Riverfront Stadium became Cincinnati's Acropolis for the future. That same year, the All-Star ballot was returned to the fan, and the All-Star game was played at Riverfront. Pete Rose crashed the party in the bottom of the 12th to score the winning run for the National League. A 22-year-old catcher named Johnny Bench crashed 45 homers, won the MVP award, and led his team to a runaway division victory. And against Pittsburgh in the championship series, the Reds won 3 straight. Riverfront Stadium was now ready to host its first World Series. But the Baltimore Orioles brought back a familiar face, Frank Robinson, traded 4 years before from Cincinnati. Frank Robinson combined with Brooks Robinson to demolish Cincinnati pitching in 5 games. The team of the 70s also lost the series in '72, again falling just short at the finish line. But in 1975, a more mature Red Machine got into a winning gear that wouldn't be slowed, clinching the earliest title in history. The big names were there: Bench, Rose, Perez, Morgan, and a blossoming George Foster. And to go with all that run production, manager Sparky Anderson's quick hook. A deep and young bullpen featuring left-hander Will McEnany. And right-hander Raleigh Eastwick helped the Reds to 108 regular season wins and a 3-game sweep in the championship series. If ever the Reds were ready for a world championship, it was now. And the fans really got their money's worth. Cincinnati fought through 7 hard games with Boston in the most exciting fall classic of the decade. The '75 series may have done more to promote new interest in baseball than anything else. When Will McEnany delivered the final pitch to Carl Yastrzemski, the Reds had at last won their first World Series in 35 years. A year later at Yankee Stadium, the Reds were back in the series, and Johnny Bench back in his power groove.
Get out of here! Get out of here! Boys, I got news for you. We're going to be world champions again, Sugar Bear. I got news for you. We are now going to be world champions again.
With Bench making an impressive comeback from injury, Cincinnati made a clean 4-game sweep of the Yankees. Sparky Anderson thought it time for the experts to rate his club among the best of all time.
Danny, what's the boy? Hey, you big cat, you! Attaboy.
1976 was the convincing victory Cincinnati so long desired.
You are going to make Cincinnati the baseball capital of the world. Thank you.
It seemed like the rare union between this city and this team was unshakable, but time was in fact running out. Tony Perez became the first to go, traded to Montreal. Pete Rose became a free agent. Then the most surprising news came from club president Dick Wagner.
The past 2 years have been good ones by the standards of most teams, but we are determined to set a higher standard. It is our decision that the move we make is in the overall best interest of making the Cincinnati Reds a better team. We feel John McNamara offers outstanding ability and strong Major League experience. He's the man to take us in a new direction.
John McNamara replaced Sparky Anderson, who had averaged 96 wins per season. And Ray Knight replaced Pete Rose at third. Neither were given much chance for success, but both surprised big. Knight hit over 300 and drove in a lot of runs. And behind a staff of promising young arms, McNamara's band of Reds won the National League West. They couldn't beat Pittsburgh for the pennant, but Cincinnati had made a transition for the 1980s.
You got to see a different type of team in the 80s compared to in the 70s. We might not possess as much power as we had in the past, but we're going to have guys hitting for more averages and stealing more bases. You're going to feel that find that we're going to have the pitching is going to be much stronger. So I just feel that it's going to be a good ball club, but we might not possess as much power as we had in the 70s, but we're still going to be good.
So the club, hailed as the team of the 70s, endured the decade of transition. No one's yet calling this club the team of the 80s, but with the Cincinnati Reds, you never know.
Take a ball, throw it against the wall, boom. Throw it against the wall. And that's what I did. And I did that 6 days a week. And I didn't throw on Sunday. And my reasoning was, if God rested on Sunday, so can Tommy John. And Sunday was my day of rest. And Monday I'd go back and I'd start throwing again. And I found there that the more I threw, the better my arm felt. So I went, whoa, okay. And from that time on, I threw almost every day.
Yeah.
When I got back on the field, I pitched out of I threw out of the bullpen and pitched a game. Instead of taking the next day off, I pitched. I threw. I threw to a catcher, Mark Cressy, in the Dodger. Just threw.
Now, let me ask you, I know that today you go out to spring training. The first person that talks is the trainer. And you can only throw 60 pitches. You can only throw 40 pitches. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. I swear, the trainers now, and they've never, as far as I know, ever entered a major league game. I don't know how they can get inside in the neurons and start deciphering between how the brain's going to send the signal to the nerves and the arms and say you can only go 58 pitches or 62. But they're the first ones to talk now, and they're the first one to put you on the shelf. And they're the first ones that says, too many pitches.
Wow.
That's the one I get frustrated with, is more so than anything else. But it's past us. It's past us. They've done all right without us, I guess.
I guess they have, although every day I sit there and God, why couldn't my dad kept his pants zipped 50 more years so I could have hit some of the big money.
Yeah. Oh, well, we could say, what would you do for 500 million? I made 2.2 in my entire career. They make that in more than almost a week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But anyway, Johnny, it's been a pleasure talking to you, rubbing elbows with.
Is your camera tilted, or is mine tilted, or is your room tilted?
No, his camera's tilted.
My camera's tilted.
Okay, well, it's good. Well, you're left-handed. I mean, that's what I always said. There's every pitcher. I don't care where they came from. There were three different types of pitchers. There was the guy you introduce yourself to every day. Hi, I'm Johnny. I'm your catcher. Then there's the pitcher you work on mechanics. You're getting your arm up. You need to get your elbow, stay back, do that. And then the guys that you have to chew out every now and then. But there's that left-handed pitcher, and left-handed relievers are just a little bit. So your camera being tilted makes this a perfect podcast.
Perfect podcast.
Yeah.
One quick question from me, Johnny. Who's the most famous baseball player not in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, all of them.
Got to be Tommy John.
Well, you've sold me on some numbers. 100